up right now and get this underway.
The draft begins.
And with this draft, we're going to have GankStars with the first ban coming into this match. Rome, did you have thoughts on the composition that we would see played out on either side?
Well, I was always impressed with the way Gangstar Sirius approaches the drafting phase, and I think this is where they have a big advantage over the Liberation team. They know their opponents really well, and they know a lot of strategic compositions that they can build up to gain an advantage.
Yeah, well, okay, so Fortress banned out here. I think this is pretty good that they've taken it away, but they're going to give Ringo over to Iraqi Zoro. And we know when he gets his Ringo, this guy is lights out. I mean, I would be so terrified to be laning up against him. But of course, we're not talking about your average player here. We're talking about T-Tigers. So how do they match up against that? What do we look to pick up?
So banning out Sky on T-Tigers, pretty much focusing down, making sure that he does not get one of his favorite comfort picks. But T-Tigers is such a versatile player where he can pick up pretty much almost anybody. Right now, I think they're going to try and prioritize grabbing him either a Vox or a Rona, a Glaive. It's like somebody that's very strong into that late game where as long as he's playing this carry role, he makes that big impact in terms of how the outcome will be.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned, you throw it out there, Rona. We haven't seen any Rona at all, but, that doesn't mean that we couldn't see her pulled out and still play to great effect here. But this is going to be the buff comp we see coming out. Adagio, Arden picked up, and it's going to be +1. I think Vox would be the good play there. You did mention Vox. And across the board, GankStars, they're going to pick up this Koshka. We'll see what they want to pair up with it, but, this is a tool for them to jump onto that hyper carry.
So this is going to actually be very interesting to watch because with LiberationX usually being the aggressor, this match, their composition is based around them playing more passively into that late game. With Gangstar Sirius, they're very calculated, but they can approach a bunch of different game styles. So it's going to be up to Fuji to be very aggressive, making sure that as long as he's constantly invading, he has that help coming out from Iraqi Zoro on that Ringo. Being able to rotate down, and as long as they're putting this pressure onto the enemy side of the lane brush or that tri brush, they have a great advantage into that early game. But with Vox coming to this mid to late game, he is really going to shine. And if he doesn't get locked down by Koshka's ultimate, I think this Gangstar Sirius team will have a lot of trouble.
So it's going to be big deal positioning, itemization, and can they keep this Vox alive to dish out that massive damage through all of these fights. Rome, thanks for your breakdown on that. And with that, we're loaded into the Halcyon Fold, and we'll toss it over to our casters, Forecourt Jester and Tasty Bacon.
All right, thank you very much, Humanist and Rome. We are getting underway. Semi-final number 2. I'm Tasty Bacon. Alongside me is Forecourt Jester. And this is going to be such an interesting matchup to watch. T-Tigers versus Iraqi Zoro in the lane. We get them going against each other on traditional lane carries to start things off. We could not ask for a better matchup.
Well, it's going to be very hard to top what we did just, look at with Alliance and Halcyon Hammers. But Gangstar Sirius, I don't think they're going to really let the opportunity slip away to not shine, especially with Alliance already advancing to the finals. Of course, if both of these teams do make it on, this is a rematch that we've seen time and again.
Yeah, and the thing I was talking about and where I'm going to be putting a lot of emphasis this game is assuming that something drastic doesn't happen. These two laners, T-Tigers and Iraqi Zoro, they have the top 2, or they are the top 2 in all of VGL for CS per minute. Both of them coming in at over 9 CS per minute. T-Tigers is actually just below 10. He's at 9.96 CS per minute. And of course, Iraqi Zoro at 9.69. So they are so incredibly close in how efficient that they farm. That's where I'm going to be having most of my attention. Right now, it's dead even. They have it looks like a slight lead for Iraqi Zoro, but there are more minions available for T-Tigers to last hit right now. So they are actually completely even on CS in terms of what's still available to them on the map.
It's interesting though, since I've been doing it since EU, earlier today, and we saw so many Saw comps, and now it feels like a breath of fresh air to not see Saw in a game. Both of these teams have actually gone into a little bit more of a collapse comp style. Catherine, they're to start things off with the Blast Tremor and Fuji with that Koshka to leap in. But at the same time, you know, Vox and crew, the longer that this game goes, the better LiberationX is going to look.
I think T-Tigers just missed 2 farms, so that's it.
Rip.
Call it game over. But it is
no
going
more
to be...
statistics for him.
I mean, you know, hey, maybe that puts now Arakizora up even with them at that 9 point... maybe they're both at 9.7 now or something, but
Leave the
we'll
math
have
to
to
the
see.
professionals, Bacon.
That's why I said about or around there, maybe. You know, leave it up in the air. But this is going to be a very even matchup, and we're seeing both teams putting a lot of attention to the lane, not so much looking for kills, but more about keeping their laner safe.
And at the same time, if you guys don't recall a little bit, Fuji is kind of the new addition here to Gangstar Sirius. Now, him, Arakizoro, Gabe Vizzle, they've really coalesced as a team into this qualifier. So Fuji is getting a lot of solo farm with that Koshka. Level 5, currently highest in game right now. Status Baked and Marteau have been a bit more buddy-buddy. That has left us with Catherine in the lane to babysit Arakizoro. But as soon as we get that level 6, as soon as that Yummy Catnip Frenzy comes online, Fuji... you know, you're very likely to see him make a play on top of T-Tigers.
Yeah, I would definitely expect to see it, or if they can get a catch in the jungle. You know, one of the things when you have this Koshka, you want to try and make a play early in the game, which we haven't seen thus far from Fuji and Gabe Vizzle. Obviously, you know, when you have such a close matchup, and you want to play it a little bit safer than usual, don't necessarily want to go like diving into the enemy jungle blind.
No, you will typically not be happy at the end of all that. And we've actually seen, you know, a few times where Catherine's, you know, one of the tankiest roams that you can get, blindly into some of those bushes. But here we go with those bushes, and ooh, Fuji just not able to get that Yummy Catnip Frenzy going. He just gets absolutely annihilated there. But T-Tigers on the same side, not looking so healthy, so the teams will just kind of bounce. Fuji is going to do a little bit more extra farm here, so the backs looks like they will stick around, but they did at least get one of those counters going.
Yep, so just that little bit, you know, every little bit helps. But look at the gold. Almost 5 minutes into this game, and we've got 100 gold, if even, separating these two teams. Fuji has now hit level 6, does now have an aftershock as well. So the double power spike coming out for Koshka. Really need to keep our eye on that hero, on Fuji and Gabe Vizzle, see where they try and make a play, because right now is definitely the time that they want to make something happen.
Arakizoro whirling, silvering his way down to the item shop. It is going to be the 3-man here for control with GankStars. A lot of scout traps here early on, a lot more than we've actually seen in some of our other matches. Halcyon Hammers was very good with their control and their scout traps, and you can see the same here with Gabe Vizzle as well. There's a lot of different dots on that map. Fuji, however, is going to go deep. They find Status Baked. Not going to be quite the fight you're looking for. T-Tigers is coming out of lane to collapse, and GankStars is saying, all right, that's enough of that. They did get, again, that one counter farm, but they haven't been able to successfully take those backs away yet.
And meanwhile, in the lane, Arakizoro just going to push it up into the turret to try and make T-Tigers miss some, but T-Tigers getting back in time. Oh, he does miss one.
He's actually been missing quite a bit, unfortunately for him. He does hit 59 compared to the 67 of Zoro.
Yeah, Arakizoro has just been so consistent really throughout this entire tournament. I mean, T-Tigers has as well, and just being down 10 isn't anything that's going to be game-changing unless it, you know, continues to build. But T-Tigers now back in this lane, should be able to just hold it here, and does have the safety net of knowing that his allies are nearby. But now is when the GankStars jungle duo are in the back, and they will finally be able to steal away these backs. LiberationX, what are they going to do? They're now coming back, but they're going to find trouble when they make it back here.
Does Status Bake actually have a reflex block? Well, it doesn't matter. There's still no Yummy Catnip Frenzies. The collapse, though, there it is, finally. To try to save out Gabe Vizzle doesn't matter. Marteau uppercuts him for the kill, and Fuji just goes wild, picking up double, or helping pick up double kill. It's actually Araki with the last hits. He puts 2 kills on the board, and Marteau is the only defender left. Now, it's not going to be an ace if he goes down. Well, okay, it would have been. T-Tigers now comes back up, so Marteau's done the job, but cannot keep this turret going.
Yeah, Iraqi Zoro, he had no intention of getting that last kill onto Marto. He just wanted the turret, got exactly what he came for. And, you know, you mentioned holding on to the Yummy Cat and Frenzy. It was actually held intentionally until Iraqi Zoro got close enough to be able to join into that fight. Because if that ult goes out too early, it allows LiberationX to actually back off of that fight with only, you know, one casualty, if even. But because it was held on to so long until Iraqi Zoro was able to rotate down, that's why they were able to get the 2 kills and why they were able to get that turret off the back end of it. So it's a really, really smart play from GankStars. Does put them now into a 3,000 gold lead with the addition of that gold payout that they just picked up. So looking good thus far in the early game for GankStars.
And that's a fountain for Gabe Vizzle as well. Fuji already has that reflex block ready to go. Don't really see a semblance of a fountain yet. Could just be a full fighting Fuji at this point. But Status Baked has his. We got a fountain there on Marteau. And as he said, Aftershock a bit earlier there for T-Tigers. We do got level 6s on all online here for LiberationX. We're still missing that Blast Tremor from Gabe. But we'll have to see if that makes a big difference or not. Wait for it. Goes right through that Ringo. Here goes a verse on the back of that gauntlet. And Status Big gets a heal. He will live through this one. It will be the 1-0 as I don't think Marteau can take down Gabe, but he's really trying to set the stage here for T-Tigers. I just don't think T-Tigers can catch up.
Yeah, it doesn't quite have the move speed, especially with that extra little stun going down to Marteau. They do decide to give up the chase. They probably could have actually caught up to him with the help of the Vanguard from Arden, but knowing that Fuji was going to be around the corner eventually, and that Iraqi Zoro was back on the map as well, they wisely do decide to back off and not overextend trying to chase down a kill, which is always the right call. You know, you never want to go chasing down a kill, especially because the longer you spend chasing the kill, the less you're going to be able to do off of that back end of it. And so just giving up the chase, going back to farming is almost always the more beneficial idea.
Well, Iraqi Zoro, I gotta say, his farming is rather on point. 105. I watched him take out that entire creep wave with T-Tiger sitting in the back, just kind of watching from afar. And, well, T-Tigers answers it by taking up his own, but still, there's a good 20 CS difference between the teams, as Iraqi Zoro has really cemented himself 2-1-0 with 108 to his name. His cash is, I believe, the farthest ahead in this game that it can really be.
Yeah, definitely. He is the richest character on the fold, and he's going to be trying to put that money to good use with the Sorrow Blade and Tyrant's Monocle already completed at 10 minutes. It's averaging 5 minutes per item. And, you know, if it was 2 tension bows, that would be totally normal, but it's a Sorrow Blade and a Tyrant's Monocle. That is not a very quick
two
pace.
tension bows is totally normal.
I'm saying for like the pace of having 2 items, or you know, an item every 5 minutes. If it was tension bows, that would make sense.
You are precious.
I'm not saying that is a good build. I'm saying like if he had done that, then I'd be like, oh, he has 2 items in 10 minutes, but they're both tension bows. So that's how he got 2 items in 10 minutes. But instead, it is the Sorrow Blade and Tyrant's Monocle. Obviously, the much better choice, but to have them that quickly is just really impressive.
Well, salty bacon aside, that Marteau gauntlet was pretty
Misunderstood
precious.
bacon. It's more like it.
Did you see that gauntlet? It went down, caught nobody, and now there's still 77 seconds until it's going to come back up on this. And you can see GankStars. I mean, they take down that gold mine. They're just going to go right back to pushing this lane. Iraqi Zoro is just going to take everything in one shot, one kill fashion. Boom, boom, boom. And, I mean, LBX is really just kind of on the back foot at this one. They don't have an ultimate for 60 seconds. They are going to be missing out that stun. And now with this push coming in, like, they got to make something happen. But they're the ones to be aggressive. The Blast Tremor hits. The Vox is down. The Yummy Catnip Frenzy for that collapse. Even getting a verse out of it as well. Down as big, just not going to hit anybody for their trouble. Marteau is going to be a target, but gets a heal, has that Vanguard, and it looks like the end of the aggression for Gangstar Sirius. But they do pick up the backs, and they are going to collect even more cash, $200 as they pass go. And what, 5,000 gold difference between the teams, Bacon?
Yeah, 5,000 gold in the lead is Gangstar Sirius, and what a complete opposite, match or game, I guess I should say. It is only game 1 from our first semifinal, where we had, 20 plus kills by the end of the game. We're sitting on 5 kills at 12 minutes, but GankStars, they still look to be firmly in control despite not getting a whole lot of kills. They've just been focusing more on farming and map objectives.
Who's actually catching who here? Marteau is the target. Here goes that gauntlet. Does not hit anybody. There's nobody to be stopped up, and that's going to be a 2-0. The staggered nature of the ultimates here, as Status Baked still has no verse to go with it. It's and now we have a fresh 100-second cooldown there for Marteau, as well as the wait for it from T-Tigers. This is starting to look a little dire. 2 turrets down, and 5-2 with 6,000 gold. That's another sweep of the jungle for Fuji on top of things. This is going from bad to worse quickly for LiberationX.
Yeah, definitely not looking too good for them. The minion mine is going to be taken as well. So that's both minion mines captured. That one was worth full gold as to top it off. So, you know, an extra 350 gold to the team of GankStars by picking that up. 5-2 now on the kills, and this gold lead is continuing to expand. 6,000, almost 7,000 in their favor. Gangstar Sirius just looks so strong.
Gonna take that minion mine, the only gold really available to them. That's another 89 to Status Baked. These backs are just not spawning in convenient timings, and, well, is this another gold mine? Nope. Gangstar Sirius is more than happy just to kind of let it accrue. Okay, I totally lied. They're gonna take it.
Yep, 186 gold per player, adding on to their lead. As Gangstar Sirius, they just look so calm and collected about every single game, and they weren't winning huge in terms of kills, but they're just casually moving around the map, picking up objectives, stealing away farm from their opponents, forcing them out of lane, you know, brute forcing their way down onto these turrets, and it looks so easy for them.
Kind of does, doesn't it? It's not really a big epic battle to the death. T-Tiger's trying his best for the farming game, but he's now dropped 40 plus here. Well, okay, maybe not plus, but about 40 or so under his opponent. Rakizoro is really just kind of hitting that mark. He's over 10 creeps per second, or per minute at this rate. So that's going to blow your statistic a little bit out of the water there, Bacon.
Yeah, or it'll get him higher up, you know, climbing a bit. I'm not sure what it'll put him at. Obviously, I leave that to our actual stats people, but it'll be interesting to see if he can keep this pace up. Obviously, you know, towards the late game, you don't quite get as much farm necessarily because you're going for fights as the Hellfire Brute comes in. Fuji tries to jump in on top of it, but not going to gain really anything off of that as Liberation just backs up. But this lane just continues to get pushed in. These backs continue to be stolen away. GankStars, they were literally just sitting here waiting for these backs to respawn so that they could take them.
Yep. It's pretty slow death at this point. They are getting choked out in terms of farm. Gangstar Sirius now with this Kraken on board is going to be looking to do a little bit of pushing now that they've accrued themselves, what, 8-ish thousand gold. That's fairly phenomenal. This will be a cash infusion with this Kraken coming into it from LiberationX, assuming they can hold. They got 3 turrets to their name, one of them being the choke, and this is now a whole bunch of infusions coming at them.
Yeah, I don't know. With the lead that GankStars have, only 3 turrets, a Kraken, this could very well be push for game if they can find themselves a strong fight. And, you know, they've proven multiple times throughout this game and throughout this tournament that they definitely can, and they know how to close games out.
All right, so GankStars with this Kraken, they're going to be looking for that endgame situation. Marteau's going to be the one on the front. T-Tiger's there with that Sonic Zoom, just trying to do as much as he can, but the turret is down, and the Kraken's going to be marching forward. Marteau's already under half. Are we going to be looking for? There's the bouncy fun coming in. T-Tigers. Did he actually use that wait for it? He did. There's the gauntlet as well, but it's just it for Marteau. T-Tigers to follow suit, and this, by all means, is going to be game number 1, Mr. Bacon, because that Gangstar Sirius crew is super serious about going to the finals to face off against their longtime rivals, the Alliance.
Yeah, that was just a very controlling game all the way throughout. Again, not many kills, only 8 kills in 16, almost 17 minutes for Gangstar Sirius, but the gold lead was immense. Look at the individuals. It's 6.8k on Fuji, to the 2.9 from Status Baked. He got absolutely nothing because his jungle was constantly being stolen. 99 farm to 59 in the jungle. In the lane, it was 184 to 149. So again, that over 10 CS per minute for Iraqi Zoro here in game number 1. Just such strong play from every single individual on Gangstar Sirius, and they bring it together as a team so well.
Absolutely flawless kind of set. Now we're going to have to see what game number 2 will bring us back. Now, Halcyon Hammers bounced back. We're going to hope for the same here for LiberationX, otherwise it'll be a 2-0. But to tell you all the numbers, we're going to give it back to Rome and Humanist back at the lair.
All right, well, game 1 going the favor of Gangstar Sirius. Pretty dominating performance there. It was a, not just like your average blowout, but it was a slow, methodical, just kind of dissection of LiberationX there. They just kind of picked them apart, and when the time was right, they just went in there, executed, and closed it out. We know LiberationX, recently they've had their ups and downs, knocked out of the last qualifier pretty early. They come in here, they made it to the semifinals. Rome, what do you think is going through their head, and what do you think went wrong in that match?
Overall, like Gangstar Sirius, they played their composition out like on point. They made sure that they engaged and invaded the jungle as much as they could. The other team, LiberationX, had the Adagio in that jungle. Pretty much, they're focusing on this buff comp, and I think the thing that went wrong here was T-Tigers didn't have a reflex blocking to about the 12-minute mark. So this is pretty much 6 minutes of Koshgar having her ultimate up, Catherine having her stun up pretty much always, and when you're depending like your entire composition based around a Vox that's going to carry everybody, you need to make sure like you're getting that reflex block. And in many instances, like we saw with the Alliance team, Mish had 2. And this is something that they have to really look at in terms of itemization. But overall, excellent play coming out of like especially Iraqi Zoro. And this is somebody I really want to highlight coming to this next match, and somebody that we really have to watch. His CS throughout the entire last game was on point. I think he finished with like 11 CS per minute, and showing here like from his kill participation, KDA, up to his CS per minute, is this guy knows exactly what he's doing, and he's fulfilling every single responsibility of that lane carry.
Oh yeah, he was so on point. I mean, he was getting more than 10 CS a minute. It was just insane, and of course, this game was a little slower paced than our previous matches. There's not as much aggression there, so he had a little more freedom to get that farm. But Iraqi Zoro, a player to watch out for, as Rome said. Also a very fun streamer. He does a lot of streams, and he actually, what's crazy? I watch that stream sometimes, and like he's sitting there answering questions and making these like next level plays. And it's like if you try to ask me a question when I'm playing, especially if I'm engaging in something like engaging in a fight, I'm like I can't even talk. Like come back later. But yeah, just an incredibly talented guy. How about from the other side of the fence? Now, is there another player maybe that you'd like to point out? Maybe from LibX. We talked about Status Bake before. We talked about T-Tigers a little bit. Anyone that you want to talk about here going into this next match that you think could really be a big factor?
Yeah, it's definitely going to have to be T-Tigers. And after losing that first game, I expect LiberationX to change up their playstyle in terms of securing a composition that's more rooted towards how their strengths are. And with T-Tigers, you see here, like, his CS per minute has always been insane, and this is something we really have to pay attention to. But his KDA, like we mentioned earlier, like since that first live championships that they had and they won, the team has slightly gone downhill a little bit, and they are in a perfect like position to actually bring themselves back up. They're able to like go back to the live championships and show like all the competitive teams that they won the last one. They have the right to be there, and they deserve to like have a fighting chance for their first place spot.
Yeah, they definitely do. I mean, these are the times that you can really cement your place in the scene and let everybody know that, hey, we deserve to be here and we deserve respect at the same time. And, what a great, and could there be a better way than to knock off Gangstar Sirius and move forward here to the finals of our qualifiers. But Rome, only time will tell, as we do have our draft ready. We'll go ahead and bring that up right now and hop right into it. Now, Rome, when we talk about this draft, LibX, they've got to switch things up a little bit. Well, maybe not. Maybe they need to play it differently. But we'll hear your thoughts. They're going to go ahead and ban Adagio out here, so it looks like they want to go away from that buff comp.
Yeah, and I think as long as Status Bake grabs himself somebody that's very dominant in the early game, he can pretty much put that a lot of pressure onto the Gangstar Sirius team, which either pushes Fuji and Gabe back in that jungle, or makes Iraqi rotate down, therefore losing farm. And this didn't happen the last game, where Iraqi Zoro was sitting in that lane, and he was just farming out of his mind. So as long as they're able to find a more composition that's more suited to their playstyle, I think they have a great chance here.
Yeah, definitely. And Fortress, the first pickup for LibX. We don't know if this is going to be their roam or their jungler, but of course, Status Bake known for that glaive, an aggressive glaive he plays very well. You know, I think he would play a great Fortress as well, as I don't have as much experience with watching him play Fortress, but I could see how it would fit his play style. Ringo, the first pickup, and we'll see what Gangstar Sirius want to couple this up with.
So they've done an excellent job in terms of grabbing that Koshka, grabbing that Catherine they did last game, syncing up their abilities. As long as Catherine's able to get her CC off in her stun, they have a great chance for Koshka to jump in. She doesn't have to worry about anybody using any crucibles or activatables, because they're chaining up their abilities and they have such a big window in terms of when the LiberationX team is silenced.
Yeah, it's all about chaining those abilities together if you can, and just absolutely take someone out before they can even react. It looks like Blackfeather going to be the next pickup here for LibX. So now this Fortress Blackfeather combo, what do they pick up here to round this out?
Right now they're highlighting Petal, and Petal actually fits in pretty well here. I'm not too sure if they're going to go with it, because all in all it makes sense to me, that composition, but they have to play it right. They know Gangstar Sirius is opting out for a very more aggressive early game comp, so they have to make sure their engages, so that as long as Blackfeather is able to scale into that late game, they have a great chance of winning. But if Gangstar Sirius puts that pressure up early, they start those snowballs and those heavy juggle invades, LiberationX is going to have to fight for their lives.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, at the same time, if Iraqi Zoro is allowed to just farm more than 10 CS a minute, he's going to be a factor in the late game as well. But we'll have to see how it all plays out here. Last pick, Rhyme, right on time. Are you kidding me? A Petal and a Rhyme game. This is going to be interesting. Last thoughts, Rome, before we get going here.
I like LiberationX's composition here. I think in terms of new heroes into the meta at the moment, Petal actually works really great with Blackfeather and Fortress, just because you have so many auto attacks going off. You have that insane heal coming out just to help Blackfeather into that late game, combined with two stacks of his ultimate in his offensive Rose Defense. He's able to evade a lot of the enemy abilities while actually diving to that backline.
All right, we'll see if this can all play out, guys. LiberationX up against Gangstar Sirius. Casters, Four-Core Jester, Tasty Bacon, take it away.
We are getting into game number 2 of this best-of-3 semifinal matchup. LiberationX are down a game here against Gangstar Sirius, and they've come out with a Fortress Petal jungle duo with a Blackfeather in lane. A very, very interesting composition that I don't think we've seen at all, because we've only seen Petal once or twice to begin with, and Fortress is almost always banned. So this should be a bit interesting as the teams do meet up in the jungle.
We had a lot of talk about Petal, and it's gonna not quite seal the deal for Iraqi Zoro that time. Fuji is actually now gonna be the frontliner, as Iraqi and Gabe Vizzle are now really just trying to get out of dodge. But yeah, cannot go up, cannot show yourself up against Status Bake. You will get those shots and the little munions. Remember, they're called Petalings, Bacon. They're just gonna be providing a lot of
sure
scouts.
There's literally nowhere that they are called Petalings other than in your head. I believe that is an actual fact. But we are
do you remember in autumn, it was just it was the VIPL. They had just shown us the Petal. We asked every team, are you going to play Petal? And then, I think one did. It feels a lot like that. Petal, with that rework, is just really not that popular.
Yeah, and I think the big thing was when they switched the Munion's health back to being regular health. That took a lot of favor away from her. Because the Munions can just get obliterated by so many different AoE abilities, and that's a big reason why a lot of players don't like her. But we have seen her used to success once, and I believe it was actually GankStars that ran it. I believe it was Fuji that was playing it just a couple weeks ago. So if anyone does know how to deal with it, it would be them. And Status Big, Marto, and Sea Tigers, they trying to maybe catch their opponents off guard a bit here as they make this full rotate around up through the lane. But they were spotted pretty much every step of the way. And but so are GankStars as they rotate on around, and we'll see who's going to get caught on the wrong side of this.
Well, Rakizoro doesn't exactly have the health to kind of participate in this engage, so Fuji, I think, is just going to be left to his own devices off to the side because the Rakizoro is just not really going to be part of that fight. Now, Rhyme has actually taken down the Black Feather. There was not nearly enough damage to be put onto him, and the fortified health even brings them into a 2-for-1 exchange as Gabevizzle is really the only one left standing. Rakizoro went home basically immediately when that fight did start. So even down a man in that fight, Rhyme was able to trade favorably into that 3-man collapse.
Yeah, I think a lot of people really don't give enough respect to how strong that fortified health really does make you. You take half damage for that portion of your health that is fortified. So it's essentially, you know, if someone has 50 fortified health, you essentially have to deal about 100 damage to actually get through it. And it makes you a lot tankier than what it looks like, because it does just sort of look like a shield, but it's so much more effective.
Gabevizzle gets the stun off on top of Status Baked. It does reset the aggro there. Rakizoro plus 2 gold. All right. Onions are worth a little bit of something after all. And Fuji in this lane, oh, he's going to get spotted. Marto and Status Baked are right there as well, and he's going to be on the run. Gabe again with the stun, but is that going to be enough to keep Status Baked off from Marto as well? There's the Trabampoline, and Marto doesn't get it. The fortified health comes out, and Fuji will just hobble away to freedom.
I'm telling you, fortified health, you can't be too confident with it, but that's gonna be you know, fortified health or no, when you're going into a fight with less than 100 health, you're very likely not gonna walk away from it.
Maybe we're looking for a stun from Gabevizzle. Maybe he was looking for a cooldown. Maybe he didn't have the energy, or maybe he lagged. I don't know. There's a lot of different situations that it could have been on that one, and well, that's going to put us to 2-2 for the score. A little bit of a cash advantage going over to LiberationX, as T-Tigers has not left that lane. He's now up to 40 CS, cut to the 26 of Rakizoro.
Yeah, and Blackfeather is just so strong into this Ringo matchup, is able to farm out very safely and actually, you know, do what we see here and pick up a lead, because he can pressure this Ringo out of lane. One of the few heroes that does have the ability to do so. Minion Mine is going to be captured here by GankStars.
Yeah.
It's early, but it's necessary because there's been so much skirmishes in the lane between Iraqi and T-Tigers. They had to pick up the Minion Mine early so that the minions for the GankStar side would be doing more damage in those trades and help even it up.
Well, that will put the pressure then on top of that turret into the top left of LiberationX. You can see the response coming out as Marto and T-Tigers invade the lane for the defense. This will give us a little bit of opportunity to go shopping. Rakizoro to dump about 1,000 gold or so into the economy of the item shop. And, okay, only 500. Still, he picked himself up something nice. T-Tigers still leading with those minions. And at the same time, the Munions are doing well here for Status Baked in that solo jungle capacity. He's going to pick up that Minion Mine again, a little bit early, but they need it to counter.
Yeah, I'm actually curious. I haven't really ever checked to see if killing Munions gives you a CS. I'll have to keep an eye on that the next time that
technically it dies, and technically it gives gold, so I mean, it's very possible.
Yeah, I think it might, because of the fact that it is, you know, it counts
Minion.
as a creature.
When you kill Attack of the Pack, you get a...
I don't know about that one either.
Bacon,
Well,
come on, do your homework, buddy.
But, well, I'll be finding out at some point over the course of this game. In fact, possibly right now.
Alright, so we are going to miss out with the Spire there. Fuji, it does have that level 6. Valkyrie still ready to go. Gabevizzle doesn't have his...
It does not.
Blast Tremor, and Rakizoro doesn't have Hellfire here either, but at the same time, alright, so it does not. That's good to know. Myth busted.
Yep,
so to
Munions
speak.
do not provide you with a CS, which that's actually good news for
either.
Yeah, probably not. That is good news for Rakizoro though, because if the Munions counted, then that would have meant that his CS numbers were actually even further behind. But thankfully they don't count, so he doesn't have artificially inflated
Baking the bro.
CS scores.
Doing the homework so that Iraqi Zero doesn't feel bad. All right. Good,
All
good
about
enough,
the
I
players'
guess.
feelings here at the VGL. That's what we really care about.
We're
It's
still...
not about skill. It's not about competition. It's about feelings.
Yes, of course. Yeah, that's why we run tournaments. 2-2 for the score, and still it's just kind of bouncing off each other a lot here. Not really big kills. Fuji is going to get a little bit of damage, but T-Tigers with the on-point shield. Not really going to be the big differences. Here goes a Hellfire. He's going to be on status baked. He's going to have to eat the 250 and burning, but will this be like a tower dive? Are we going for pressure? Or are we just killing the Munions?
Well, it looks like it's just a little bit of dancing around for now. As we'll have to see is LiberationX, they aren't looking for, doesn't really look like they're
More
looking for
Munions.
a fight, but now they might because Iraqi Zoro just
Oh.
took a ton of damage.
Petal gets the kill, and now we're just saying, whoops, all right, Fuji's going to try to peel the best he can. Good Valkyrie. Doesn't kill status, but it brings him low. Gabe Bizzle there with this tremor. Doesn't actually hit Petal there either, and Marto and Petal will be traded 2-4-0 on that engage. Sure, we already lost Iraqi Zoro, but Fuji and that fortified health has really shown some really do-or-die situations.
T-Tigers backed out of that fight way too early. Definitely, if he had stayed in, it would have been risky. He was getting low, but if he had stayed in that fight, they would have gotten the kill onto Rhyme for sure. You know, obviously hindsight is 20/20, but that is could be one of those things that is. I mean, it's not going to decide the game right there, but that allows GankStars to get a foothold in this game that was starting to look like it was really favoring LiberationX.
3 kills to 4 and pretty much dead even. A few hundred gold between the teams, but nothing that is not going to get made up from basically right here by T-Tigers. He picks up his creeps, and that's 88-81, still outdoing Iraqi Zoro, but now the 3-man collapse. They're looking for Rhyme and that engage, and they just didn't find it. Now Fuji's going to be real low. He still has that fortified health, and that's the silence on top of status Baked, and the damage is good, but it's not enough. Fuji's going to be dropping low. Baked has lived. T-Tigers will get a really favorable engage, and could this be the triple fortress? All right, Petal spoils it, but still double kill for Marteau. 1 going to status Baked, and no deaths suffered. They give themselves a gold mine and go right back to farming.
I thought for a moment after that Valkyrie came down that it would have been a kill picked up, a fight picked up for GankStars, but really good job from LiberationX to just keep going and continue to fight on through, and did eventually get the ace and the gold mine, giving themselves some good control. Now Fuji gets caught.
Yeah, Fuji was a little bit too aggressive. He said, all right, I'm going to throw out this Spire. It's going to hit that plant, and then, all right, 3-man collapse. GG right there. That's another kill now going over to LiberationX. And Iraqi Zoro, he's going to make a swift exit out of this lane. Looks like he's going to be looking for the backs, and, well, he will find them if he continues on. But, of course, Marteau's not very fond of this plan. Neither is Status Baked as well. They have that scout trap down there, and Iraqi Zoro is just not going to be getting out of that.
Yeah, no, not at all. And LiberationX, they're looking good in this one. Of course, it's not a huge lead, but it was never a huge lead for GankStars in game number 1 either. And they just continue to snowball it out of control. That's going to be what LiberationX looks to do here with this composition, and they're going to be able to do very well going forward into the late game. But we'll have to keep an eye on the builds as they come out. Obviously, the first tier 3 items completed for everyone across the board, and a couple of tier 3 items on each member of LiberationX. So they do have that item advantage, and they are in a more advantageous position when it comes to fighting. As long as it's not near that turret, they can really look for a fight anywhere they want. And this actually isn't one that they want because Black Feather's on the opposite side of the pit. But Fuji taking so much damage from Status Bake, but Status Bake goes too far.
Yep, that bounce, Fuji just immediately just turns right back around. He looks much healthier than when Status Bake went for that kill, but the trampoline not really doing the favors to Status Baked, and now that's going to be more cash into the pocket here of GankStars. Now, do they want Gabe Bizzle in the front? Because so far it's been Fuji. Iraqi Zoro, however, is going to find out that he's not the one to be in the front, and Gabe Bizzle Not looking for the stun on Marteau. Instead targets T-Tigers. Doesn't get a stun on either. Not going to be the clean trade that they wanted, but it will be 1-1.
Yep, and so that 1-to-1 trade, it doesn't really get them much in terms of gold, but it does obviously slow down the pressure from LiberationX. The gold lead still staying close at about 3,000 in favor of the blue side. But GankStars, they're holding on. This gold lead hasn't really started to take off. It's been pretty consistent for the last few minutes, and that's exactly what you want if you are the team that is behind. You just want to make sure that the gold stays where it is instead of continuing to get out of control. Obviously, if you can get it even closer, that's ideal, but
of course, they'd also have no idea what the goal between the teams are, but they can probably estimate and guesstimate, and, well, they're going to guess that there's a gold mine going down. Well, they'll be right, but, oh, the Valkyrie went out there. Immediately attack of the pack comes through. T-Tigers is going for it here as well, but can they actually pick up a kill? They're not really landing the damage. There's the blast tremor, and finally the damage has started to add up, but they will bounce with no kills from either side.
A lot of ultimates used to no avail. I think every ultimate but Hellfire Brew was thrown out during that fight, but no one died, and it was just a gold mine picked up essentially for free when all was said and done. And LiberationX, they're trying to get pressure onto this turret, but they just haven't actually been able to get much damage on it. They've taken about a third of its health, but that's pretty much the same damage that GankStars has done to theirs. And it's a very, very close game number 2 coming out here thus far.
T-Tigers still well on his way. 138 at the 14-minute mark. He's just under that 10 per minute that we've been looking and alluding to, but Raki Zoro is fortunately way under that at this point. He's about to hit the 120 mark here at the 14, so T-Tigers has really taken the lead when it comes to these last hits, and Fuji in lane, he's going to be in a little bit of trouble. Now that's the Rose offensive forward. Marteau had jumped him there as well, and I just don't think there's enough frost in the world to keep the old man going.
Yeah, no, not quite able to stay alive long enough for his teammates to come up. I mean, and even if he had, Arakizora was just taking the jungle camp, so he wasn't going to be coming up into the lane no matter what. So that was just a free kill picked up, but nothing gained from it. Because Irakizora was in the jungle taking away those camps for himself, it meant that they couldn't rotate down after the kill to try and steal the backs, and instead they have to settle for a decent gold payout from the gold miner right before the Kraken spawns, so they will have the advantage of having prime position on the middle of the map. They have their vision down there, so they're okay with just going back into the lane and trying to push this. But now with Kraken up, things are going to get a lot more tense.
At a Hellfire, it's the dead T-Tigers, what it is. The collapse onto that was rather spectacular. It wasn't the Hellfire, it was just the Twirling Silver that I saw, and then as T-Tigers does drop, we are going to have a good push going here for the Gangstar Sirius. This is going to tip the scales of gold back into not quite their favor, but into a more manageable number. And now with less than 2,500 between the teams, they're going to pick up these fronts here as well. Will they go for the Kraken? Doesn't feel like it anymore, but they've really made a good push right there.
Yeah, while they're not going to get the Kraken, they are going to try and get vision control of the area, but they have missed out on one scout trap left in that bottom right shop brush. But we'll see if it's not going to get cleared, but they were able to at least get their own vision in here now, at least temporarily. So, oh, is that last one going to stay? Yes, one scout trap remains for each team in the middle of the map, so they will both have that little bit of vision on where their opponents are down by the Kraken. And this game is getting very, very tense, I think is the best word for it. I wanted to use something else. Oh, there goes that last Liberation scout trap. Now, will they get this last one? It won't matter, Eric, because there's a fight.
Puppies and Munions are going to be coming down real hard on top of Araki Zoro, and he is just not going to live. You see T-Tigers with that Rose offensive. He gets one that looks like Marteau gets the other, and now Gabe Bizzle is going to be trying to do the run of his life, but Marteau's just happily bouncing right there and behind him, and that will be a kill for everyone on LiberationX. The ace comes out, and this is for sure a Kraken.
Yeah, Kraken, and they're going to go ahead and send T-Tigers up to the lane to push down this first turret as well as picking up all this extra farm. So a lot of gold is about to go into the hands of LiberationX as the Kraken is just about a quarter away from being captured. That first turret is going to fall. It's going to be another 300 gold into each of their pockets, and now they'll have the Kraken to help them push up to try and get more out of this.
So a turret, an ace, a Kraken. Well, all right. So much for that manageable gold lead. 2,500 just balloons to 4K. And how many infusions? Decent amount. Status Bake picks up 2. We got T-Tigers with the crystal. He also actually has that weapon as well. So, yeah, this is going to be a very powerful push. But what are the timers like? We got 15 seconds on Attack of the Pack, but everything else is ready to go for LiberationX.
Yeah, and they're just going to try and play safe and push this first turret. Maybe look for a fight after the second turret is down, because Kraken is still very healthy. So they're definitely going to be able to push in onto this last lane turret. But when will the fight happen? It's going to happen at some point. It's just a matter of when, and it looks like it's going to be very soon. I would expect them to go in right after this turret.
Yep, Kraken's
not.
done,
Wow.
and they say nuts to Bacon's theory, and we're gonna back out. Now, of course, that Kraken wasn't gonna go too much farther anyways. Maybe might have gotten a swing on a turret. So let's just clear out the jungle. LiberationX can start starving out their opponents, and Gangstar Sirius now down still about 4K or so. They can regroup, have a little bit of a breath of fresh air. That's 1,500 gold that went into their pockets, remember. They only lost out a turret, but they did get that kill gold. And now, well, who's actually engaging on who? Tigers is going real deep for this. In fact, we even threw out that Attack of the Pack.
That's going to be a cooldown not available for the next 45 seconds. And GankStars, I wonder if they're going to be able to look to capitalize on that. It's going to be tough because they are still behind in terms of items, and they don't have double infusions on any of their members or anything like that. So I feel like they're going to look to just kind of wait it out a little bit longer before they really go for a fight. But I have to say, for LiberationX, this is one of the first games where it has looked actually dicey for this Gangstar Series team, because they have had what has appeared to be a really easy time with all of their opponents thus far. And I think this is one of the few times that we've actually seen them trailing in a game, especially this late into a game.
So not only will Halcyon Hammer's velocity rise to dispute up against Alliance, but now perhaps LiberationX, if they can put a point on the board and force a game number 3, these world-class teams are finally seeing some competition. Now, we do got some more infusions coming out. Ringo to pick up double. Rhyme actually adds another one to his list of accomplishments. And, well, Gangstar Sirius, they are still pretty much stuck at this choke. They're not getting any real farm out of this, but all those last hits are going over to Araki Zoro pretty consistently, and this is a strategy we've seen work fairly well for Velocity in the past.
Yeah, multiple teams have tried to do this. When you do fall behind late in the game, just stay safe, get as much farm onto your carry as you possibly can, and then hope to catch a fight somewhere. But with Kraken back up, this is very likely going to be the big fight.
All right, who's going to find who? Here goes those little puppies. Again, they're looking for the collapse. There's the one silence, but, Fuji is just getting absolutely annihilated. The fortified health is keeping him going. Araki Zoro, though, cannot survive. He is going to drop. Gabe Vizzle and crew will complete the ace. And there's just way too much spam in the way of a lot of these fights. We got Attack of the Pack. We got the Munions. T-Tigers is just weaving between them with that Black Feather. And with 30 seconds plus and a creep wave coming in, I think this is a game number 3, Bacon.
It very well should be. LiberationX, like you said, with the minions here especially, they are going to be able to split the damage on these turrets so that those death respawn timers don't have too much of an effect. So both turrets down almost at the same time, and now the crystal, the respawns are coming through now, but it's not going to be in time. And we are going to our second game number 3 in the North American semifinals.
Yeah, world class or whatever. LiberationX saying we are here to win. They are not willing to give up their spot 2-0. And of our 4 sets of semifinals today between EU and NA, 3 of them go all the way to blind pick status.
Really exciting stuff. It's great to see the level of competition continuing to increase, across all regions really, but especially here in North America. At the start of this qualifier, especially after the way Qualifier 1 went, wouldn't have expected really any team to oppose GankStars or Alliance, but we're seeing it come out now as we are getting closer and closer to the championships. Teams are just stepping up their game, and I cannot wait to see who's going to come out ahead on this one.
All right, so back to the layer we go with our analysts as we determine what we're going to see for game number 3.
Well, once again, thank you, Forecourt Jester and Tasty Bacon. Pretty fun matchup there as LiberationX able to take up game 2 off of this Gangstar Sirius squad. And pretty convincing fashion as well. Rome, I mean, going into this, we knew that they were going to have to play well to take a game off of them, and even if they want to win the series, have to play impeccably. We know that they can do it, but they have to make 0 mistakes and really execute on everything. I think they proved to everybody that they can actually do that here in that second match. Now, as we go into this third match, this deciding match, it's going to be blind picks, meaning we have no draft. These teams are going to get whatever they want. And going into this, Roma, I want to hear some of your thoughts about what you think we could expect from either of these teams. And, from your perspective, do you think these players are really playing to their full potential?
Yeah, and just looking at that last match, I love the composition coming out of LiberationX. Putting up that Black Feather in that front, and you saw how T-Tigers, he farmed really well, and he didn't opt out to go heavy damage potential. Instead, he made sure he had enough sustain that so when he dove onto Iraqi Zoro on that Ringo, he was living long enough so that behind him, Fortress and Pedal, they were doing their thing, using that range, using those abilities, and overall, they played it out so well. I think in this last blind match, the momentum has swayed over to their favor in terms of now T-Tigers has any pick on his plate.
Right.
He can go out and he won't get banned by the Gangstar Sirius team anymore. But this also comes to show, for the last match, Gangstar Sirius, how are they going to approach this? And we know that their hero pools have been, expanding ever since they entered the competitive scene, and they pretty much have locked down every hero under their belt. In terms of how they balance out their team composition, I think Iraqi will be playing a very strong and early game dominant in that lane again, with Fuji perhaps going out something more towards that mid to late game. I think that will help them out a lot, as long as they're able to play passive in the early couple of minutes, and if Iraqi Zoro is able to rotate down, making sure that they collapse on the Status Bake, who is very aggressive. We know this last game, Status Bake, he got caught a couple of times in the enemy tri-bush by himself, and this costed him a couple of team fights. But overall, it's just his aggression that gave T-Tigers on that Black Feather such an easy time to actually farm out that lane.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things I asked you. I was like, okay, so what situation are you not going to go for any damage, but pick up your Serpent Mask as the first item? You said he's looking to sustain himself through these fights, let all of the damage play itself out, and you were completely on point with that. Great job by him to execute and by you to analyze that. So once again, thank you, Rome. And with that said, guys, I believe we are ready to hop into our blind pick here. So we'll bring that up right now and just get this underway. Our last match of the day, another 3-match series. Oh, man, how is this going to play out? LiberationX, they've been on a roller coaster, so it was down and up, and hopefully this one's not down. It's going to be a sustained up for a little while. But Gangstar Sirius, man, they still got to play some really good Vainglory to take this match. Rome, what's your perfect composition for this squad?
Overall, I really like if LiberationX is able to secure themselves a very dominant jungler. I think this plays out to their suits really well. And in terms of Gangstar Sirius, as long as they're able to find a composition that is able to do quick rotations, has the mobility to get across the map really quick, they can catch the LiberationX multiple times, overextending or playing too far.
All right, well, definitely we'll see if they go for that. Looks like they are securing up some early aggression here, and it looks like T-Tigers picking up that Ringo for himself. And I was wondering if they're going to pick up a Sky, because Sky's been banned out for them. We know he loves that hero, but a lot of aggression here coming out for this Gangstar Sirius squad. And I mean, you get this Fortress, Catherine, was it Ringo combo? I believe that's what it was. And That's massive damage. So we'll see what they can do, guys. We are loaded into the Halcyon Fold, so let's throw it in there for match number 3. And we'll give it over to our casters. Forecourt Jester, Tasty Bacon, take it away.
Thank you very much, Humanist. Game number 3 between Gangstar Sirius and LiberationX. We are underway onto the Halcyon Fold, and interesting turn of events, interesting selections here on the blind pick, I gotta say, as we are gonna have that Crystal Power Fortress on the side of GankStars, but now LiberationX taking a page out of GankStars' book with that rhyme coming into the jungle.
I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it comes to mind, but unfortunately it didn't win for GankStars in that first one, and you don't really see a lot of rhymes. In fact, this comp is, the Ringo's getting locked in. I kind of expected that. Ringo's really just been the mainstay in pretty much both regions today. He's been in almost every game, if not, he's been banned. And now into a third place match. There's no Sky, there's no Koshkas. It's catching me a little off guard.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that there's no Adagio either. It's just very, very strange to me that none of these big power picks, other than obviously the Fortress, is the only one that's typically banned or considered a ban or pick worthy. That does come through here, but we will get to see. I'm excited for this T-Tigers Iraqi Zoro Ringo on Ringo matchup, as both of them, again, so incredibly talented at farming the lane. Iraqi Zoro does have a slight lead thus far as he makes his way down to this shop for the first time, but gets spotted on that flare and immediately backs off, saying, you know what, I don't exactly feel like getting picked off while trying to make my first item purchase.
Did he even get the purchase? No, he didn't.
He didn't get close enough to the shop to do it, which I'm kind of surprised that he backed off after once his teammates got there. I figured they would have been willing to go in as 3 because they would have had that protection, but instead just goes back up to lane and did allow T-Tigers that time to get caught up. So now we're going to be pretty much back to square one in this lane. But oh my goodness, Rakizoro's getting ganked, but here comes GankStars.
Yeah, I mean, that was just absolutely perfect. Status Baked is going to go down. Fuji has a potion there ticking away, and it does look like he will just bound to safety, just barely. T-Tigers not able to go for 2 for 1, but they do get 1, and now looks like they are on a mission to take out these backs. Now Rhyme is going to come right back up. He should just be able to take his, and that will be a little bit of more of a successful steal. Oh, Fuji, you don't want to be here, dude. He did take 1 back, but he did lose his life for his trouble.
And now I'm not sure if Iraqi got that one or if it did go over to T-Tigers.
No. He's at 15 farm ever since he dipped down to the...
Yep, you're right. And so that's going to be quite a while since Iraqi has gotten a single minion kill, which is definitely not bode well for him.
He's been busy, that's all.
T-Tigers up to 24, but of course now 2 of those were jungle minions, so they are worth more. Status Baked.
Old man Status Baked.
He is going to get out. My goodness. T-Tiger's actually taking a pretty good chunk of damage himself as well, but with the fact that he's has the minion wave right underneath his turret, gonna sit there and try and farm that out.
Every time you bring it up, he misses. Oh yeah, he's under turret, no problem. Miss. All right. So yeah, a little bit ahead here from T-Tigers. Remember, of course, those backs are worth way more than the 40 of these laning minions. And T-Tigers does get a bit of damage there on top of Raki. What's going on at the backs into the back though? As Gabe Vizzo down to about half. Marteau going to be chasing him down. Status Bake did miss that Spire on top of Fuji, and looks like they might actually. Yep, they take that minion there as well. The health camp. So. Gabe Vizzo looks like he's going to be okay. Marteau is still actually in chase. Yeah, they're still chasing. They going for it, or is they just putting up a front? Looks like more of a front. If they can catch Iraqi, that's better. Ooh, that tension bow is really going to hurt. Look at T-Tiger. Just walks right up to him. Rhyme's the one with the kill steal. Marteau there is going to hook up with the 3, and are they taking the minion mine? Who activated it? Doesn't matter. Fuji's not going to be part of this, and the backs will be claimed by LiberationX.
Yeah, Fuji very likely going to go look for some farm in the enemy jungle. They are respawning right now, so he will be able to find them. It's just a matter of if he's going to get found. He should be able to get at least 1 before he has to as Status Baked is returning to try and claim them. We'll have to see who gets these camps. He looks like he's going to go ahead and give them up. Status Baked just going to... oh, never mind. Fuji goes back in. He gets one of them. The other does go over to Status, and that should be the full retreat. But
I can just picture an old man chasing a dog saying, "Get off my lawn!" And now Marteau comes in, he finds Fuji. That's going to be a stun. Is there a follow-up? Status Baked has already used his boots, but look at T-Tigers. He has level 6. That's going to be Hellfire now coming down on top of him.
I don't know if the burning will be enough, but maybe with a Scout Trap if that damage... No, it doesn't. The damage from the Scout Trap doesn't hit because of the move speed boost that that Fuji got from the heroic perk on Fortress, keeping him alive there.
Now Rakizoro is out farming his opponent's jungle as LiberationX is returning from the GankStars jungle, and it's kind of a little bit of a cat and mouse game so far. It's a lot of invasions. 5 kills in 6 minutes is not bad by any means. 2,000 gold accrued from LiberationX. I don't think Rakizoro is going to hoof it out of this one, but he is going to steal out these backs. Maybe, yeah, he's not. He's going to just TP out of that one.
Yeah, he will be perfectly fine, and he'll be very happy with being able to pick up that extra gold. A very sort of hectic game thus far, as everyone's just kind of been all over the map. We've had laners farming enemy jungles. We've had, you know, the junglers on both sides of the map. Everyone's just kind of been everywhere, just picking up farm wherever they possibly can.
Gold Mine Arena.
Yep, this is going to be a gold mine fight. No steal, but now we have the full 3-on-3.
And a few level 6s are going to be here as well. Attack of the Packs coming out. Status Baked is a big target, but they turn it right back around. They kill out the Fortress. Rakizoro to drop just before Marteau as well. And will the Puppies actually bring down Status Baked for the ace? He will. Gabe Vizzle is the only one left standing in a 5-man death free-for-all. Man, gold is not that different either.
Yeah, I think hectic, definitely the proper word choice there, as to describe not only the game, but that fight especially. It looked like it was going to be a really nice catch by GankStars, but all of a sudden that Valkyrie came out and completely turned things around. I thought maybe then it was going to be a heavy fight win for LiberationX, but all of a sudden the extra damage came through, and now Gabe Vizzle, on the wrong side, did steal away one of those minions, but only got one, and is now very likely going to fall because, you know, that's a full health Status Baked. Just gonna slowly chip away at him until he gets the kill. And what is going on in this game? Like, this is not a crisp game from either of these teams, especially after how clean and how strong they both looked in their respective victories.
Well, it's they're both wrestling, and it's really just kind of whoever can get the upper hand. They're going to do it however they can. T-Tigers is going to take a Hellfire Brew from Rakizoro, from one drunk to the other, I suppose. But T-Tigers will weather through it. And about still 2,000 gold or so. I'd say LiberationX has actually expanded their lead ever so slightly. And this is going to be a big jump for them. They pick up the Sora Blade and a Fountain for these fights as well.
And a lot of Scout Traps coming down in addition to that. The Vision has played such a big role in this series, as it should in any high-tier game, because, you know, if you can know where your opponents are, it just gives you that extra bit of advantage that could be the difference between a victory and a loss. Whichever side can get a jump on the other. But right now, just continuing to farm up both of these teams. As you mentioned, the 7-4 kills, not a terribly quick, fast-paced game, but not too slow either. And no real turret damage has come out a little bit onto both of them.
At this point, it's more of just a game of collection of kills.
Exactly. It's both teams really kind of feel like they're waiting, just trying to get small advantages here and there, but really waiting for a bigger fight at the end game. When the death timers are long enough that if you can get kills, it leads to an objective or two. As a decent gold payout, gonna help them out. Marto dropping the blast tremors.
Yeah, that's +3 armor, man.
Yeah, I guess. It's all about those stacks on Catherine. Try and get as tanky as possible.
And, I mean, Catherines are amongst the legendary renown of not going down that easily. And picking up that gold mine and sacrificing your blast tremor, all right, that's fine. It was the absolute deterrent against kind of an engage right there. Not that GankStars was really aiming to do it, but again, that's now almost a 3,000 gold lead between the teams. It's slow and steady, and LiberationX is still winning the race. But with the Kraken about 4.5 minutes out, you should start seeing at least one more gold miner attempt before she does come onto the fold.
Yeah, very likely 2 gold mine attempts before the Kraken is up. But right now, T-Tigers, looking at the farm, 110 to 73 in this mirror matchup in the lane. Of course, it hasn't exactly been a steady mirror matchup up there, because both of these laners have been roaming all over the map. But T-Tigers definitely coming out on top thus far. And let's see if he can keep it up, as they could be looking for a fight here. Fuji going to take a lot of damage.
Yeah, that tension bow really starting to show some colors. T-Tiger, looks like they're just leaving Marteau into the front. And, well, Status Baked is just way too far away from the front line. I don't know if there's a miscommunication or the team just didn't know what they really wanted to do, but Marteau was leagues away from any kind of help there. So that's a free kill going over to the Gangstar Sirius crew.
Yeah, free kill, which means that you're going to go get the free backs as well, taking out those jungle minions. But meanwhile, LiberationX, they say, all right, you know what? You can have our back minions. We're going to take your turret and a kill on your laner. What a great move by LiberationX. And now they're going to take away the backs of GankStars. So LiberationX, they come out huge from that trade.
4,000 gold. Every time that we bring it up, they've done themselves a good amount of work, and they just keep getting farther and farther ahead. The kill on top of Iraqi Zoro is not going to do him any good when it comes to those minions. 80 and counting? Well, like, what happened? There was just 2 games of nearly 10 a minute, and now he's sitting just way less than that.
Yeah, not even going to try and do the math to figure out what he's at right now. It's never a good idea to try and do math on stream, and so we're just gonna leave that to the professionals. As LiberationX, it's 8 to 5 on kills, isn't the biggest lead in terms of the fighting, but this gold lead is where it's all at. And with this gold mine going to be picked up, another almost 200 gold for each of them. They now have about a 4,000 gold lead still. Riding in their favor.
Now, you wouldn't have expected a Rhyme who's had a little bit more of a subpar performance in these tournaments to kind of come out swinging in a blind pick game number 3, but Status Baked himself sitting at 3-2-3, 67 minions to his name, level 12, highest in the matchup. He's actually making it look good.
Yeah, I mean, Fuji made it look good as well. They weren't able to quite seal the deal. So we'll see if Status Baked and LiberationX can do that. Hellfire Brute is going to get reflex blocked by Iraqi Zoro, and instead it's just going to be more farming.
Yeah, but now there's no block. Could we actually go in there for the stun into the silence between Marteau and Status Baked? Are they just looking for more favorable positioning here? Not entirely too sure what's really going to be up. Spire goes out. There's the Hellfire. That's going to be the key. Status Baked doesn't actually get that block, but he does have the fortified health to start eating away at that dot. Both Hellfires now being used, a whole lot of Spires being thrown out, and, well, nothing really to come out of it for the teams. Now we're going to be bounding forward. Fuji, perhaps a little bit too far forward. Silence and to silence, and he's now on the retreat. Now here comes that next Blast Tremor. Marteau in the front line has nothing left in the tank. That's going to be the only kill of this fight thus far. Iraqi Zoro dropping low. He had a shield ready to go there from Gabe, but T-Tigers and Status Baked looks like their fighting days are done. And we got a Kraken in 50 seconds as everyone is now split back to base.
Yeah, Status Baked had such a huge opportunity for a massive Valkyrie, but he was just barely out of energy and wasn't able to actually drop that ultimate. It would have been a huge turnaround on that fight if he had been able to cast it. But unfortunately, it did just result in the death of Marteau, as now everyone getting prepared for a potential Kraken fight. Did see infusions not quite coming out just yet, but there is actually now one picked up right there by Iraqi Zoro. He does also have the Sorrow Blade and Tyrant's Monocle. Compare that to the infusion that T-Tigers also has. There's a couple more, the crystal infusions coming out as well. But T-Tigers has the tension bow, a sorrow blade, and now also the tornado trigger in his inventory. So attack speed versus crits is really the difference on these two Ringo builds, as T-Tigers went for that earlier edge with the tension.
T-Tigers doesn't
block
that. Yeah, he doesn't block that, so he's now already going to be very close to that half mark, even before a team starts. That's kind of the big response that we have been seeing. A lot of these Hellfires are going out, and you got to make a big choice. Reflex block it or not. T-Tigers, he still has his block ready to go. He was willing to eat that damage. And now for this next big team fight, wow, that Spire actually hits all three. Blast Tremor is going out. We do got the attack of the pack there as well. Some stuns going out. Team Tigers is trying his best, trying to keep Status Baked alive. We did get that Valkyrie out just before the two in the back died, and Gangstar Sirius clean up 3-0. They got the better Blast Tremor. They had the attack of the pack going, and unfortunately Status Baked, even with all that fortified health, is in a state of not surviving these big damage numbers.
Yeah, it's so difficult for a Rhyme against a moving fight like that. You know, LiberationX, they were retreating almost the entire time, which means you have to try and predict where your enemy's going to be with that Spire, and just not enough of them were connecting to get him. Obviously, each hit of it gets you more fortified health, as well as obviously doing more damage to your opponents, but just not enough coming out there. And so there is that first turret picked up for GankStars. They didn't quite decide to go for the Kraken, but now they're sitting here in wait, potentially looking for a fight. But Iraqi, he's gonna just walk up to this brush. I'm pretty sure he got spotted, but he doesn't care. He's just firing off a Hellfire Brew again.
And T-Tigers once more does hold on to that reflex block. Is he even going to head home before this fight? Because if he keeps eating these, it's just not going to be doing his team any favors when they get collapsed upon. Like, look at Arakizora already bringing his Status Baked down to half as well. They're pushing up against this turret, and well, Arakizora is actually aiming for the farm rather than the damage. T-Tigers is coming back, but Status Baked, if he gets collapsed upon, he's basically done. So they're going to take team. They're going to bow back and forth, but now it's Hellfire Brew for Hellfire Brew, and T-Tigers just gets pounced on. Fuji into the back now, making sure that Status Baked can't go anywhere. Marto's going to be dropping low here as well, and Status Baked is going to drop. Now that's a Blast Tremor and a shot from the turret. It will put down at least one team member of Gangstar Sirius, but they juggle it out, and that's going to be a 3-for-1 by the end game.
Yeah, Gabe able to tank up that turret long enough, and it's an ace for GankStars, which means that is another turret. And just like that, GankStars, they have the gold lead now. They have completely turned this game around off of these last two fights. And T-Tigers, you wanted to get that Hellfire Brew out to help trade damage back, maybe look for an opening. But unfortunately, he had to step too far forward to do it. And of course, once you start that channel, it's that's a long time that you have to stand still for someone that is as squishy as a Ringo. So he did just get really annihilated as he got that cast off, and it made that fight really a 3-on-2. Yeah, they were underneath the turret, but we're getting late enough in the game where GankStars can just deal with taking those turret shots and not worry too much about it.
So all of a sudden, GankStars up in kills, up in gold, and LiberationX perhaps just kind of thinking and scratching their head at this point. If they don't use these reflex blocks on that burn damage from the Hellfire, then it has been kind of turning into a rotating door of team members going back to home, getting down to half, go back home, getting down to half. And it's been rinse repeat. GankStars have really kind of taken a lot of pressure off themselves by setting up that scenario, and it's kind of worked out in the end. Now we do got flares. Everybody knows what's about to happen. There's the Blast Tremor from Marteau, but it's good. It's just Arakizoro getting obliterated. Not Arakizoro. It's actually Fortress getting the kill. Arakizoro finally does go down, but the Fortress does clean up the Rhyme now here as well, and GankStars once more just obliterating their opponents. It was T-Tigers that fell first, and now they're about to lose another turret.
Yeah, and honestly, this Rhyme just not quite working out. I mean, he's getting everything that he wants. He's getting Valkyries down that are landing onto multiple people. The Spires are keeping him alive for a while, but it's just not enough. The damage that is coming out of Gangstar Sirius is just too much. They're able to overcome it, and that's that third turret down. No more lane turrets left for LiberationX, and Kraken is being worked on by Gabe Vizzle. Has it at about halfway, and with the help of Fuji, they should be able to take this one before LiberationX can get within stealing range.
Just to be safe, though, they're going to move it slightly off to the left. And, I mean, there's no big, huge rush to take down these Krakens. You see that Iraqi Zoro, that he's come back to life. He's now back into the mid, and more or less the timing is perfect. He picks up the item shop. They have a lot of infusions now going down on both sides, and this Kraken is going to be poised to break open this game. 3,000 gold between him and 5 kills. Gangstar Sirius, with this late game composition, has really started to take the momentum into their own hands.
Yeah, I'm not even sure how much of it is a late game composition, so much as just the fact that T-Tigers built for early game to try and just get a massive snowball rolling with that tension bow in the lane, and it just didn't really work out for them. And now the Ringo build from Iraqi Zoro was just doing more work. Of course, this Crystal Power Fortress didn't get shut down early, so it's doing a ton of damage. And now here's a big fight, but a huge Valkyrie!
Yep, Rakazoro is going to be the first to drop. Fuji is going to be the second, but not before they take down T-Tigers. That's going to leave us with Gabe Vizzo and this Kraken on top of this crystal. You have nowhere to go, Gabe. You got to make this one count, as that Kraken is starting to tear through this crystal. Nobody is on top of Gabe, but he's not really doing the brunt of the damage. Doesn't matter. They change their opinion. They're going to go for Gabe, and it just won't matter by the end of it. The Kraken seals the deal, and Gangstar Sirius will take on Alliance in the finals tomorrow here for Vainglory League Qualifier number 2.
Yeah, a rivalry that is quickly becoming a very big one in the North American scene. Gangstar Sirius versus Alliance. We get to see it for the third time in our last 3 major events. The VIPL, the first qualifier, and now the second qualifier. Who is going to come out on top? They're tied 1 apiece of those last 2 times that they've met. So this is going to be a very important finals tomorrow for both pride, bragging rights, and of course momentum leading into the Winter Championships. But Gangstar Sirius, it looked dicey for them. It looked really shaky at the first half of that game, but all of a sudden they just got to a point where they just looked to be flat out stronger composition wise and just rolled over the rest of the game.
The banter in the after game lobby is pretty fantastic, but good game well played to both of them. I got to do double duty for EU and NA, but fantastic games overall. It was definitely a pleasure, and Bacon and I, we're signing out. We're throwing it back to the lair to wrap things up, and we will see you guys tomorrow for third place and finals.